As you're about to see, we've got a really fun video. It's really near and dear to my heart. It's something that I wish we had published earlier, but life gets in the way. Speaking of life getting in the way, as you can imagine, what you're about to see was filmed before everyone was dealing with COVID and the coronavirus. And if you're doing this kind of outreach now, which I still encourage, at-risk populations are more at risk and they are further left behind in times of crisis. Obviously, pay really close attention to sanitary conditions, to washing your hands, to doing whatever you can. If you have hand-sewn masks, throw them in there. If you have any kind of sanitizing wipes or hand sanitizer, anything at all, try to throw it in there. In fact, one of the things that I think about is how many of us are frequent flyers, right? So how many of us get those kits? Like, here's your amenities kit with all the fucking socks you don't care about. A lot of those kits, like, I don't know about you, but we keep them around. We keep them around for guests who stay in our guest room. And that's fine. It's nice to have a little basket of amenities and stuff. But, like, in our linen closet, we have more than we need. Go through those kind of kits. Look for those little bottles of hand sanitizer. Like, do you need 10 individual bottles of hand sanitizer? Or can you give some away? Can you give anything? At this point, I'm ready to start giving away tiny airline bottles of liquor in anything I give away. We're giving away rolls of toilet paper to delivery folk. We're giving away like hand wipes to UPS drivers that we see. Just as shitty as all this feels, know that you're doing something for others and it does matter, and just finding that connection anywhere you can. Be safe when you do it, but I have felt like crap more and more since the start of this. And the only thing that makes me feel less shitty has been reaching out to others and seeing what we can all do to protect one another, because sure as shit, the government's not. All right, much love to you all. Here's a fun video about looking out for the less fortunate and mutual aid, and I encourage you to give it a whirl. Thank you. Stay safe out there. Hey, so what are we doing here today? We are going to look out for others in our neighborhood. I cannot put a long enough list to adequately credit everyone in my life who has taught me really amazing and valuable things about harm reduction and community defense. Violet Blue, if you don't know her, long history of working with the unhoused population in San Francisco and blogging about this. Maggie Mayhem is another friend of mine in the same area. Frankly, everyone I know in SWOP, either here in SWOP Seattle, SWOP USA, SWOP Behind Bars. A lot of these orgs teach skills that many people who come from lesser privilege just kind of learn, because looking out for one another is what you do. Those of us who've grown up always with a roof over our heads and knowing where our next meal comes from might not realize how easy it is to make the life of someone in your neighborhood, in your community, who doesn't have what they need to get by a little better. So we've got ourselves a gallon Ziploc bag. That's going to be the basis of everything we do, and we're going to fill it with some comfort, we're going to fill it with some food, and we're going to fill it with some sundries. And all of these things are incredibly valuable to people who don't have, well, things they should to survive. First thing, socks. Could we put a lot of different kinds of clothing in? Underwear, shirts? Yeah, I mean, people need a lot of things in this world. However, when you don't know someone's size and you're not sure what they're out of, you're not sure what gender they are, socks are kind of the one constant. And I realize socks come in other sizes. There's a lot of different people with different feet. But I've never met someone who wasn't able to make use of some new socks. And for any one of us who've been kind of stuck on a long travel trip, you get on a bad layover, you lose your luggage. It's not the same as being unhoused, right? But having a fresh, soft, clean pair of socks makes such a world of difference. That can be the basis of everything I ever give. For food. Apples. Apples are cheap and abundant and healthy. However, not everyone, especially people living hard, have the perfect dentition that you might wish to, bite in an apple. I will always include an apple in my kits, but applesauce. Almost equally inexpensive, just about as nutritious, and anybody can eat it with any kind of dental problems, young, old, you name it. Bars never really go bad, and I love getting just giant packs of cheese. I know, again, like not everyone can do dairy. That's, again, you learn things by talking to new people, right? Like, do you know how many non-white folk are lactose intolerant? I didn't know until I read things like You Want to Talk About Race. But cheese, right? Like, I understand I'm white as they come, so cheese is going in there. But that's kind of a nice basis for, oh, okay, like, I can get around this. Also, if you ever have kind of like bullshit candy, we got this at some door prize on, I guess it was New Year's or something like that. Throwing in one or two little treats, I realize, like, no, this isn't good nutrition, right? But it's the same thing when you give, care packs to soldiers or something. I give away a lot of Halloween candy to people who send it to people who are deployed downrange. Like, yes, that's not a #1 Surgeon General's recommended nutrition, but I've never, ever met someone who didn't have the comforts of home who didn't appreciate getting a little bite of chocolate. And finally, sundries. One of the hardest things, again, if you're living rough, if you're unhoused, if you're kind of always on the move, trying to stay clean, trying to stay a little bit human, right? Providing sundries is one of the biggest asks that a lot of outreach centers and shelters need. So, is this another piece of candy? No, it's not. If you've never seen one of these, this is a little inflatable washcloth. They're really cool. They are reusable. They are washable themselves. And I always throw one of those in. Hopefully people know what they are. Lip balm, again, if you are subject to the elements, you're always getting chapped lips. Like, it's rough. I can't go out of my house without freaking lip balm. I can't imagine existing outside of a house in general without it. And then toothbrush, toothpaste, right? These may not be the absolute #1 that you would get for free with a lollipop or something, the sugar-free lollipop at your dentist, but being able to have something that will that'll refresh the mouth, that'll try to keep you healthy, they're always in need. And you know what? If somebody already has a better one, they're gonna give that to someone else. They're gonna find a home for it. One of the last things that's going in this kit, and it's frankly the most expensive thing. If you can't do this, that's okay, I understand. Everything in here, you buy it in bulk, pretty cheap. But a Starbucks gift card. You can get them for smaller denominations than you might think. Even $5, $10 denominations is possible if you order online. This isn't just a cup of coffee, maybe a bite to eat. It's horrible to say, but being a paying customer at an establishment like Starbucks, which I don't care what your politics are. I mean, they're ubiquitous, right? They're everywhere. This gives people the right to exist in space. It gives people the right to be in an establishment, to be able to use the restroom in that establishment, and a lot of other things that we kind of take for granted. Someone who doesn't quite look like us, someone can easily get turned away or be asked, okay, you've been in here for an hour, why don't you find somewhere else to be? If that person is a paying customer, it gives them both moral and civil and legal permission that they might not otherwise have to keep a roof over their heads for a little bit longer, stay out of the elements. So I know that one might be a bit of a stretch goal for many of you packing kits like this, but something like, I don't know if we've ever done the math. I think this whole bag is probably no more than, well, without the card in there, it's probably no more than $10. But we try to make these, we try to keep a stack of them around and give them out. We walk around Capitol Hill, kind of hand them out to people when we're up there going to Harry's Bar. If you keep it with non-perishable, like you don't put the apple in here, you don't put the cheese in here, you can keep a stock of these. You can keep a half dozen of them in your car, maybe 1 or 2 in a backpack if you bike around the city. And if you see someone, it doesn't take more than a second to kind of reach out and say, hey, how you doing? Are you feeling all right? Is there anything you need right now? Would it be all right if you want to get a bite to eat, maybe a fresh pair of socks? It seems silly, and it might be awkward for you to try to do that if you've never before, but it makes a difference. It can make a difference in other lives, and maybe even make a difference in your own. Be the person in the world that can make that happen for someone else. Who protects us? We protect us. Stay safe out there. So there you have it. One mutual aid, community, unhoused persons care pack. And you may not realize one of the valuable things that's here also, the bag itself. Being able to store something, keep it dry, etc. So if you can spare it when you're packing them, sometimes I will even just go ahead and put an extra bag right in there. That was a tip that Violet told me, and I never would have thought of that. There you have it. Be kind to one another. Look out for one another. Stay safe out there.